Today we are doing something a little different, I thought. So I've been doing some application stuff videos and things to do with how to get into university, and it's been pretty good, but it's getting a bit repetitive. So I thought I'd change up a little bit. I thought I'd shake it up maybe. And today we are doing, as you've probably seen the title already, a reaction video. Now, what are we reacting to? So, as you know, with the news currently, a lot of stuff going on around immunity, and one of the main topics surrounding immunity is vaccination. So today we're doing a reaction, well, I'm doing a reaction to a vaccination video, and it is a video put out by a group called Middle Ground Jubilee. And Middle Ground basically put out groups of videos involving people of differing beliefs or differing understandings of a certain topic, put them up against each other and basically let them argue it out for about 10-15 minutes. And today we will be watching one of those videos, and it's a pro-vax versus anti-vax group, and they will be talking about their views, their points, and I'm very excited to see this video. I haven't watched it fully yet, so I'm very excited to see this video, and yeah, let's just leave it like that. I'm very excited to see points that come up in this. So yeah, before we get into the video, though, quick reminder to use my Brainscape promo for 20% off Akshi 02. Very useful, as I said. If you want to check out, watch my previous video, and I might put the promo here if I feel like it.
Flashcards are a fantastic way of achieving active revision learning and spaced repetition, but unfortunately, paper flashcards just aren't cutting it anymore. With the amount of data that you have to revise, these sort of hard paper flashcards, A, take loads of time to write out, and B, can get lost in places, and frankly, it's not very nice looking at reams and reams of flashcards, which you then have to organise into things that you've learned, and organise into topics, and they just don't cut it anymore. So, if you guys want a more effective way of learning with flashcards, may I introduce you to Brainscape, the new active learning associated flashcard website, which covers pretty much everything that I've spoken about and everything that you'll ever hear in a revision video. Now, if you're wondering what exactly Brainscape is, it's very simple. It's a website that basically has online flashcards which you can edit and create to tailor to your own specification or syllabus. It also has decks that have been previously created from other people using the website. So for example, if someone at your school or university has covered the same subject as you, you can link up with their flashcards and use them, which cuts you pretty much weeks of preparing flashcards, weeks and weeks of preparing flashcards, which means that you can get straight into revising. However, it's really easy to create flashcards if you haven't done so already, or if nobody in your college or university has any. The way to do this is simply going onto a flashcard, clicking on the front, typing in what you need to know, and on the back writing the answer, just as you would with a paper flashcard. But what's easier with Brainscape? Brainscape utilizes spaced repetition by setting a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of how well you know this flashcard. By clicking on it, it uses its formulaic algorithms, which are based off artificial intelligence, to help you really revise. Brainscape Pro, however, is the paid version of Brainscape and is the one I highly recommend getting. While Brainscape free version achieves some of this, it only gets you so far, and I would really recommend upgrading to Brainscape Pro because it's not that much of a cost and it's a far better alternative to using paper flashcards or even writing notes. But obviously some of you may be struggling with the cost of it, so they've linked up with me very nicely and they've given me a little code which I'll put here. It's Akshi 02, full caps, for 20% off at the checkout. So please do use that. It is very nice that they've given it to me. It's hopefully going to be helpful for you guys at home, that you get a little discount on the prices.
Also, I'm doing a free giveaway this time. It's a month of Brainscape Pro for free, absolutely free access. All you need to do is just subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Just message me with Brainscape, just DM me, and you'll be automatically entered into the competition. That's all you gotta do. Just subscribe and DM me on Instagram. My Instagram will be here, and subscribe, you know what to do. Just smash the subscribe button down there. Let's get into the video. It says pro-vaccine versus anti-vaccine. Should your kids get vaccinated? Hopefully we're going to get a good debate out of this.
Hi, my name is Marissa Gold. I am a parent. I have two girls, 10 and 13, And I'm also a parenting expert with my own parenting company, Into It Parenting.
My name is David Epstein, and I'm a pediatric intensive care physician.
I'm Gary Schliffer. I'm an internal medicine physician.
I'm Bob Sears. I'm a pediatrician.
Well, I was vaccinated as a child, but my last vaccine was about 15 years ago when I returned to college, and I had a severe reaction in that I became arthritic in my hands. Went to many, many doctors and nobody knew what was going on and why it was happening, and just shrugged like, it doesn't make sense, you're too young to have arthritis. And it wasn't until having kids and sort of digging into my own research for them that a lot of answers started coming up, and I think it's unfortunate that a lot of it is overlooked.
Big point, nevertheless, regardless of how correct she is. So reactions can come about. And it's not uncommon to see, kids coming away from vaccines with allergic reactions that usually, well, not usually, actually, mostly aren't severe at all. They'll come away with maybe a little bit of swelling, redness, pain. If you think about inflammation, all the signs of inflammation, redness, pain, heat, all of those things, it's quite likely that they might come away with that, especially if they're very young and their immune system's just, sort of building up. They're more likely to get sort of very minor reactions to these things, especially with certain types of vaccinations. They may get systemic reactions, so they might get things like a fever, muscle pain, headaches, more severe things. And very rarely, we say very rarely, this is, very rarely, they can result in disabling reactions. And very rarely, even on top of that, incredibly rarely, they are life-threatening.
For me, and I'll continue to get vaccinated regardless of the risks, because I've seen too many things on the other side. I've seen kids, come into the ICU and die from getting the flu. I've always felt like the risks are far outweighed by the benefits of getting the protection.
Not getting vaccinated endangers other people.
Not getting vaccinated.
I will acknowledge, of course, as a pediatrician, I know vaccines work. I know they give you protection. They vary greatly in what that protection is. It's not like 100% magical shield over you completely.
And that is effectively what a vaccine is. I may have misjudged Bob, really. I may have misjudged him. Bob is a good man. I think he probably doesn't understand what anti-vaccine means, because anti-vaccine means you've got a flat-out no on vaccines, but he said they work. So I'm not exactly sure why he's been put as anti-vaccine, but I have misjudged him. I apologise, Bob. If you're watching this, Bob, I apologise. And he's very true. They don't offer 100% protection. Vaccines are very much sort of a first-hand sort of training for your immune system. Just because you've got a vaccine doesn't mean you can go out and get infected with mumps and be 100% protected. Varying vaccines offer varying protection rates, but it's very unlikely you'll contract it, basically. It's not an all-out, you're definitely not. It's just you're very safe. You're much safer than the person who hasn't got a vaccine, much safer.
I do acknowledge there are some vaccines like the measles vaccine and the chickenpox vaccine that honestly, if you don't get those vaccines, you do risk catching the disease and passing it to others.
It's such a complicated topic, vaccines, and you're starting to get micro with each individual vaccine, and definitely the question was talking about the big picture, and I think, if you get micro.
Yeah, and what you said here is exactly right. If you get micro about vaccines, if you speak about individual vaccines, you get varying levels of protection. And that's just what it is with vaccines. If you look for the big picture, it's very difficult to judge and estimate what vaccines do in terms of whether they protect each other. But it's most definitely that most vaccines do offer some sort of protection to the whole community. And this is where an interesting topic comes in: herd immunity. Herd immunity is basically a term which is very vaguely describing how many people in a population need to be vaccinated before the whole population is safe from a disease. And it's very much what's going around at the moment now. So I'll go through it on a very little animation.
Micro, probably some of these vaccines.
I think when you're giving kids medication, you have to get micro about it. I don't think it's doing your kids any service to just say vaccines are all made the same and they're all safe and healthy and good for you, that everybody's benefiting from it, because that's false. It's
But we
not
study
true.
them before we release them to the public. We study them, so we do know they're safe. That's the thing is we know.
Safe-ish.
No, it's safe. Vaccines are safe. You know, as I've said, there is very little risk of you getting an allergy to them, and in that sense, they're very safe. You know, you've got risks with everything. You've got a risk with switching on your toaster in the morning; it could electrocute you. You have a risk, you know, when you start your car. You know, you could be hit by a 50-ton lorry as soon as you get into your car. There's risks with everything in life. Literally, when you're walking down the street, you could get struck by lightning. There's risks with everything, and if you just take the attitude to vaccines, you should take it to everything. I don't see why you would only factor in the risks with vaccines. You know, there are risks everywhere in life, and if everyone takes them, they'd be more safe. That's how vaccines work.
To keep my child safe.
I agree. I don't have kids, but when I think about it, you know, the idea with vaccines is you're protecting all of us. You're protecting the group. You know, there's this idea of herd immunity. And so I think that's why it's really important to talk about, because this is an issue that doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Because there's people that aren't vaccinated that are sick or have immune issues, or they're too young to get a vaccine, and they count on herd immunity.
I think most people too, like I started out vaccinating my daughter because I believed all the same things that you said. It wasn't until she had a reaction and several reactions that I actually had to look at it differently, where I realized by continuing vaccinating for her, that actually would hurt her. And yet everyone wants me to do it for the population, as if I'm supposed to continue to sacrifice my child for everyone else.
Well, I mean, there are medical exemptions for vaccines. If your child has a reaction and there's concern, I think that's valid. But I think a larger population is using other justifications to not get the vaccines.
You know, a number of families who look into vaccines, they will decide to opt out of vaccines because they feel they are just not willing to risk the side effects.
But the side effects are like 1 in a million, 1 in 2 million. Whereas the side effects from the diseases, when I see all these outbreaks and things like that, I'm going to choose vaccines every time.
And that's, I think, right there is the disservice to this conversation, because it is a risk-benefit analysis, and what's unfortunate is how downplayed those risks are. I only started investigating vaccines because I ended up with a kid with an autoimmune disorder.
Okay, brilliant point. I'm going to go and look at a World Health Organization website, a data report done by them, which offers very helpful information on each vaccine that is primarily given to children in the UK. And let's have a look at the rates of reactions. I'm going to take a look at, let's say, polio, a very common vaccine. A lot of people take it, and it's well on its way out, polio, at the moment. So let's take a look at this. Right. Polio rates. So VAPP is basically just vaccine-associated paralytic poliomyelitis, and that is basically just an issue with the virus gaining virulence, and it causes basically suppressions, mutations, and it basically causes polio to arise again in a deadly form. It's basically due to genetic issues, genetic changes, and it can be transmissible by feces and direct fluids. But it's, again, just a reaction, and let's have a look at how rare it is. So in the oral vaccination, in the inactivated vaccination, which is what happens sometimes, is you get 0.5 to 1.5 per 100. So let's have a look at VAPP in oral vaccines, which is the most common vaccine that we have at the moment, and it's the only one where you can get VAPP. So you have total VAPP is 1 per 2.9 per million doses. So it's 1 per 2.9 million doses. That is a very small probability. And I mean, like our physician said earlier, it is basically 1 in a million. It's smaller than 1 in a million for polio. It's incredibly small. Let's have a look at our much more feeble reactions. So things like swelling, tenderness, they're much more common. You're going to get erythema, so you're going to get damage to blood cells around the injection site. That's probably quite common. 10% of them get it. And you're going to get induration, basically a hardened form area of the skin. I mean, you're probably going to get that. I've got some markings on my skin from vaccines. Doesn't affect my life too much. Doesn't affect me too much. It's just there. But yeah. Polio again, 1 in 2 million for the major reaction again. MMR, let's have a look at this. MMR again is a very debatable vaccine. So let's have a look again. Measles, serious cases, you get, look at this, it's 1 in a million, 1 to 3.5 in a million for anaphylaxis, which is basically the worst allergic shock you can have. Thrombocytopenia, which is basically low levels of platelets in your blood, which is the stuff that helps you clot your blood. 1 in 30,000, but you can get a lot of help for that. Let's have a look at mumps. Mumps, serious, again, these are all like in per million. You got 1 to 10 per million, 200 to 1,000 per million. These are all types of meningitis that you might contract. Please do not get worried about this. Again, you can literally, I'll link this all in the description below so you can see exactly how small the chances are. It's 1 in a million pretty much. It really is 1 in a million, so I wouldn't worry at all.
There's too much hostility between the two sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like it. I want us to be able to talk. I want us to be able to have relevant and educated conversations. And I think at the core of this conversation is what is at the core of humanity and being a parent, which is that we all want to do right by our children.
So there was a little bit of trepidation coming into this because you do hear things in the media, about the people who are anti-vaccine and the way they respond to physicians, and it is a little bit scary. As physicians, we care about people. There's compassion on the medical community side. We wouldn't do this if we didn't care. But again, I do have compassion for the families that have gone through issues with vaccines, and I have a great deal of compassion for the families that had children die from preventable diseases. There shouldn't be any hostility, there should be discussion. We can always question things. That's how we evolve, that's how we get better. If we didn't question anything, we'd be still in the dark ages. So. Thanks for sharing your story.
Doctor?
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure, Doctor. I gotta kind of see you around, yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Kendra.
Awesome. Okay, that's interesting. A lot of points raised there, great points raised there. I feel like the last question was the most important one, hostility. Let's try not to be hostile between people who are anti-vax and people who are vax. It's very important to understand each other's opinions and take them into context when debating. As the doctor said at the end, if we didn't question anything, we'd be in the dark age. So people who are anti-vax have their own right to question things, and if you feel like you don't agree with them, you don't need to go and be hostile or attack them in any way. They're just people trying to figure out what they believe in, and that's perfectly fine. Hopefully it's been interesting getting a point of view from a year medical student going through this and watching this video. I'll put links in the description again below to quite a few websites that'll talk a lot more about vaccines, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.